I mean, do you agree with what is being said, that history is being rewritten by some of these people being featured in BBC history dramas?
Yes, there's no doubt about it. The problem is it's being done in a very particular way for very particular reasons. All of the programs deal one way or another with questions like slavery, race relations, and this kind of thing. And they present a simple, fundamentally wrong, one-sided message. They say that Britain has a unique responsibility for the slave trade, that the enormous economic success of Britain in the 18th and 19th centuries is founded largely, if not wholly, on black slavery, and that therefore we owe repentance and we owe reparations. And every one of these points, Stephen, is simply wrong. It's not actually supported by fact. So there's a terrible problem. And if I can just put it, I was teasing you about Channel 4 and the BBC. If I can just put it in a very different kind of way. If you look at these programs, and there's Samuel L. Jackson called Enslaved, again, all presented by actors. There's Ranganathan, Ranesh Ranganathan on Sierra Leone. When you look at them, you don't think you're watching the BBC. You think you're watching Netflix, and you think you're watching a bit of Harry and Meghan. Even the same pseudo-experts, David Olusoga and Afua Hirsch, all crop up saying the same sort of things. The BBC has forgotten that it's a national broadcast. On this sort of issue, it shouldn't be presenting a partisan line. We urgently need genuine a debate on empire, on race relations, on slavery. But it needs to be a debate. It needs to be honest. It needs to present both sides of the argument. It needs to be scrupulous about information. It shouldn't be Netflix, Harry and Meghan style propaganda.
It is difficult, though, isn't it? In the sense that it's whether something is being based as, an absolute historical, almost like a historical document, as you say, absolute facts that we know. But then we've also got to, and it's inevitable, isn't it, that we perceive things through a modern day lens. Nothing in television, as you very well know, is done in the same way as you can do in a book or a broadsheet or anything else. Everything is done through a perspective lens, isn't it?
Stephen, why not? Why do you have to employ a completely biased American actor who will not simply see things differently? He'll see things through an American lens. And our history of race relations, our history of slavery, is completely different. The Americans kept it as long as they could and had to fight a civil war. We got rid of it early and got rid of it throughout the rest of the world. And we did it peacefully by parliamentary enactment. So if you take that lens, what you were talking about, of Samuel L. Jackson, it's completely the wrong way of viewing our history. It's a lens that doesn't, like a magnifying glass, enable us to get into it deeper. It's like a distorting mirror. It turns it into something out of a chamber of horrors. And the BBC should not be doing this. It's fine for Netflix. It's fine for those who want the rubbish that Harry and Meghan purvey. Let them do it, but not a national broadcaster.
It's interesting. I mean, you talk about Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, look, I haven't seen these programmes, I've got to confess. But I mean, is he not being employed purely as a presenter? I mean, presumably he's not writing the thing, is he?
Of course not. And again, this is one of the great problems. None of this stuff the presenter knows anything about at all. The same is true of Ranesh. He knows nothing about this. In other words, this is actually using a speaking head, feeding him information, I would say misinformation. The very distinguished body of historians that are behind History Reclaimed have documented this exhaustively. It's deliberate misinformation, which is being presented to somebody plausible, somebody popular, somebody that people identify with. In other words, it's not simply biased, it's willfully, it's propaganda. And it's anti-British, anti-historical propaganda. It is, in short, a disgrace.